What is going on? Happy Monday night. Welcome to another edition of Chips and Dish. Twin 86. What's happening, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Nice to be here again, especially with my twin. It's always fun when twins are together.
Twinning and winning on a Monday night. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, twinning and winning. I like that.
Twinning and winning. We got Matt checking in. What's up there, Matt? Listen,
hey, Matt.
I'm not watching the Flyers game tonight, but before I get any further, I do have to stop the show. I got to stop the show right away. And I know some of you who follow me on the social medias, you already seen it, but we got to have a conversation here on Chips and Dish. We got to give a big shout out to Mr. Don Conaway, NHL Teacher of the Year.
Congratulations, Mr. Conway.
I listen. All of you guys helped this. I'm so excited for him. Couldn't happen to a better dude. This man, like he already is. Let me pull this off for a second, right? $20,000. He is honored tonight. I think my favorite part is right up here in the top corner where he has already changed his name to 2021 NHL Teacher of the Year, Mr. Seaway Science. He is stoked. He is excited. And Alexa, the champ is here.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So congratulations to Don, my very good buddy, man. I'm so excited for him. $20,000 for the Norristown School District. My man. I wish I could have been there with you. And I know you're like secretly, hey, come to the Flyers game. He's like, come to the Flyers game. I'm like, I have to umpire. I can't. And he's like, all right. And then they're like, here, meet Gritty. I didn't get to meet Gritty.
Man.
So now I'm sad. But I'm excited for Don. NHL
especially from you.
Teacher of the Year.
That would have been like.
And again, special thanks to all of our viewers, our supporters, our friends who voted. It's very special. We are very appreciative of it. Let's pay some bills real quick, and then we'll get into some stuff. Hempbombs.com, premium CBD products. They are fans of the show. They are sponsors of the show. Hempbombs.com, promo code AATBirds, 20% off. We keep it going. We're partnering with Statement Games. It's a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. That's what I know about them. You're going to have to talk to Phil tomorrow night on Fairway to Heaven to know more about that. Oddsjam.com. They help you understand how to make your bets so you do not lose money. And All About the Birds Monday night, Chips and Dish is sponsored by 99jersey.com. AAT Birds. Use the code AAT Birds for 20% at discount. Lower Marion 33, that'd be Kobe. Listen, y'all. Listen, it's about 1 month away from Father's Day. This is what you need to be getting the dads in your life. There are so many cool things. We're going to be posting about it all week, all month, but definitely 99jersey.com. Check it out.
Dear wifey, get me.
Yeah. Well, speaking of wifeys, manscaped.com is also fans of the show. AATbirds.com. They also, that's more for your ladies in your life to manscape it up. 20% discount and free shipping. All right. Manny man.
What up, twin? What's it going?
Twin.
What up, Philly?
Listen, what a difference a week makes.
Literally, it's crazy. Like, what would have thought? Especially, what are we going to sports? By basketball first? Because I got a lot
Whatever
of
you
basketball
want. Listen, 1 week ago, I sat here and was talking about the draft, and we were talking about hockey, which is over.
Mm-hmm.
Go Flyers. Thank you, Flyers. But, go Flyers. The Phillies were doing some things, the Sixers. And then all of a sudden, all of the major teams decided to pull an old school in. We're going streaking. And they did.
Yeah.
So the difference a week makes, right? The Sixers won 8 straight games. The Phillies had a 5-game winning streak. The Eagles, we're starting to see what they might do offensively. So Manny Fizzle 86. Dealer's choice. What you want to chat about first?
Let's go with basketball. I mean, they're red hot. Might as well start red hot.
Basketball.
Yep. Especially the fact that you said 8-game winning streak. Who would have thought that we had this conversation a week ago? Today
about
a week ago. But it's crazy how they're so like connected and so forth. And even those 8 games, I think like 2 of them, they didn't look that great, but yet somehow they pulled it off. Especially the Bulls game. That was really contested there. And I think it was the Spurs. They went overtime. But they still pulled the
and against none of their starters.
Yes, and that's the point that's crazy.
Or sorry,
that gives
one
me
starter.
What's Embiid, right? Yeah, Embiid. But
no. The Spurs played one starter.
Oh yeah, that was I had to look at the roster that work. But it's literally one of those things like gives me some type of hope for the playoffs, especially going deep. And again, like with this 8-game winning streak, we do have right now in first place of in the conference. So that's a good start. Always looks good in the resume, but let's keep that going to the full length of the finals. So that's one thing.
And as we talk about the Sixers, right? So like you said, they won 8 straight games. They're 2 wins away from claiming the number 1 seed. They're up 3 games on Brooklyn with 4 games left to go. I mean, they really, they're doing what they need to do in the Eastern Conference, but that leads to some questions because the way they've won the games, it's been awful. They have the starters. The starters look good, but then as they get going and they put in the subs and they have the big leads, the second team is blowing lead after lead. And instead of the starters getting an opportunity to rest with the strenuous playoffs about to start, they have to go back in the game and secure a win.
Yes, and I agree with that. It's kind of crazy how that whole the bench is not as solid as I thought it would be, especially going into this, last few games. And, those players that may have a contract or maybe looking for other places to go, this is your time to shine, especially in the Sixer team that you make it, you're guaranteed some type of contract in the future, either with us and Sixers or, someplace another team. My biggest little bit of a bad and a good thing is with the new playoff format that the NBA is throwing out this year. Yes, the starters have to play a little bit more, but they do get a week off before they start playing. So it gives gives Embiid that chance to stretch his legs a little bit before he goes back into the first round and play whoever is in that bottom 7 to 10 bracket. And again, it's one of those things it's kind of that could be a little bit of a benefit, but at the same time, with this win streak, let's say if they win tomorrow and they win again against the Magic, the next 2 games, if they win, we want to keep that red hot streak going. But at the same time, it's one of those blessing in disguise / give and take what we're going to lose and what we're going to gain for the week off. So it's interesting.
Right,
It's
and
very
you look
interesting.
Right. And you look at the games that they've played. So they're not beating teams that are exceptional. You know, they played a Thunders team that's bad. They beat the hell out of a Hawks team twice. That's not great. They barely beat a Spurs team. That's bad. They beat the Rockets by 20, but they gave up 115 points to the Rockets. They beat a Pelicans team. They beat a Pistons team. That's bad. I mean, look, this team, they have 4 games left against the Pacers, the Heat, and 2 against the Magic. It is theirs to lose the number 1 seed. And I think getting the number 1 seed obviously is very, very important. And then resting your guys. But I agree here, a week off is always concerning in all sports.
It is, especially when you are in a red hot streak. Yes, granted that, like, I'm a little bit, I don't know, it's like one of those, like, this playoff format that the NBA is throwing out is something similar to what the NHL and, Major League Baseball is throwing out, or even football, because the wild card weekend type of situation. But at the same time, it's, I think, it could be beneficial for the NBA and, the big guys that are basically, you said, they're not the bench is not I don't say dominating, but not performing up to the capacity.
They're not playing well at all. They are not playing well at all.
I think,
and they're giving up games. They're giving up games.
Yes, and I think it's one game. I think it was the Bulls that they actually showed something, and I was like, okay, that could be a good rebound. But then the next game, no, there was nothing at all. And yes, it makes the match. We'll see how it goes and like itself. Again, like. The 8-win game, with this schedule and then the way the schedule is set up this year, I am happy that they are taking care of business in that respect. Because if they didn't have an 8-win winning streak, I'm pretty sure this conversation would be very different.
Very different, because again, you look at a team like the Nets, and the Nets have all the star power. So they were supposed to, as soon as they got Harden and then started signing all of the free agents and trading for guys, they were supposed to run away with the conference. Now they didn't, because the Sixers have been a good team. But as I look at the roster top to bottom, a week and a half ago, I would have said, look, the second rotation, like, you want to make sure you get those guys minutes in the playoffs. Now, as I'm looking at this, obviously Curry's going to play a ton. Embiid's minutes are going to go up. Green's minutes are going to go up.
Yes.
Harris's minutes are going to go up. Simmons 5. Dwight Howard, you need to play. I think Thibault, you need to play for defensive purposes. I think Maxey, you need to play for that spark off the bench. But everybody, like, Shake Milton is a turnover machine all of a sudden. No. Furkan is good, but I don't know if he's playoff good. George Hill, you can keep on the bench. Isaiah Joe, you can keep on the bench. Paul Reed, you can keep on the bench. Mike Scott, you can kick off the bench.
But I mean, Hill actually did good during, like, he did decent during this run right now. So I can see him, getting more time. But that's the problem. Like, we want them to get going. And at this point in the season, you should be blazed to the wall. Like, you should be making those plays. Like,
absolutely.
Those turnovers literally from like, I don't know what he, some of those plays, like, that's basically community league basketball that he's doing. And you're like, okay, I like you try to be fancy, but I don't need fancy right now. I need consistency. Give me some. We
need to play the offense through Embiid, who then has the ability to kick it out to the shooters who have to knock down the shots.
Exactly.
Dallas.500. I don't know who you are, but there's a cow. Listen, this is all about the Birds, sir. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and how much we don't like them in a couple of minutes. But thanks for joining. Thanks for commenting. Coming in from YouTube. What's going on? So, all right, let's keep it talking Sixers here. The conversation that has happened this entire year is about Joel Embiid and whether or not he is the MVP. 4 games left in the season. Is Joel Embiid your MVP, Manny? Did I lose you or did you? What's happening here? I'm not sure.
A few weeks ago, if you go, yeah, says I'm good.
All right.
No.
We got you now. I think you're on a bit of a delay. All right, we're going to try and get him back on. So, in my opinion, while we wait for Manny to get it all figured out. You back? You back?
Damn it, buddy. I'm back.
I got you.
I'm out.
You're back. You're alive.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, my
Is
computer
Joel Embiid the MVP? Go ahead.
So, yes. Right now, if you look at the way the Sixers are playing and the way that our bench is god awful, but without Embiid, I don't think this 8-game winning streak should be happening, and that basically shows me that a MVP caliber could be placed. Granted that 2 out of those 8 games he did not play well. I mean, his numbers were subpar, but for not making points, he did contribute in other parts. Rebounding, he's still number 1 in the league. He's still one of the top 5 in points. He's still, he's that impact player for us that people are watching right now. And yes, granted that everybody's like, the Curry, and yes, Curry deserves the big nod right there and so forth. But to have a team, be number 1, especially with the fact that we talked about Brooklyn and and even the red hot Knicks, because the Knicks right now, the 4th seed in the conference.
Yeah, somehow that still blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean they're doing something right. They're doing something right. So it's something that we again, Embiid is doing his job. We expected him from day 1 to be the leader, to make the impact play, and yes, he has hit ups, he had hit downs this season, but the fact that his last, we're talking about the last 12 games, he's actually making a more of an impact on the team and keeping this streak going. I gotta give him a nod on that whole thing. So will he win? I don't know. It's kind of questionable.
Right now, according to the Google, which I'm on, the top 4, according, and I Googled NBA MVP odds. Jokic is the front runner.
Okay.
Embiid in second, Curry, and Antetokounmpo. So let's talk about this first off. According to the Google, LeBron James isn't even in the top 4.
No. And
I agree.
Completely on that one, yes.
LeBron James and the Lakers are in 7th place right now. They have a chance of missing the playoffs.
Especially with this new format, that means they're playing an extra 3 games.
Yeah, but now LeBron doesn't want to do that. Let's just talk about that.
Especially because he's actually in it. If it was like, let's say last season or the season before that, they were in the top seed or the top 3, he wouldn't give a rat's butt about it. But now he has to play for it, and now he's complaining about the whole thing because extra 3 games and all fun stuff. But again, you win some, you lose some. Like, let's be honest. So
and I just don't think that LeBron James is a monster NBA player, but he is not right now the most dominant player in the game. He's just not. No, he's not from a defensive standpoint. No. He's not from a scoring standpoint. He's not from a shooting standpoint. He's not even the best player on the team.
Nah, Davis.
Anthony Davis is a better Laker than LeBron James.
Yes. The one thing I want to point out is that LeBron James is literally, 35, 36 years old? Or 35. 35? Yeah,
I don't know. He's old. He's NBA old.
Yeah. And he's been in the game for so long that, like, at this point, we're getting to that point now that I don't know whether he knows it or we have to admit, he's getting to that point that he's not going to be an impact player that much. I'm pretty sure he has maybe 2 more years of being an impact player, and then, goes downhill. Compared to other sports, basketball is a really, people talk about football being grueling and undertaking. People talk about hockey being undertaking. Basketball is a grueling sport, especially men's basketball. You talk about the fouls and so forth. Look at the inside plays. Look at people elbowing each other, they hate each other at the moment, and they probably do. Like, I don't like you because you dunked on me yesterday, but doing that day in day out for the past 20 some seasons, it's gonna get a toll. And we are correct. LeBron James right now is not an MVP caliber.
No, he's not. First off, he's been injured, right? So he's missed time. He's missed time, which, look, that's been the biggest knock on Joel Embiid, the fact of how much time he's missed. Yes. But you've now, so the counter argument is going to be, well, look how far the Lakers have fallen without him playing. He's the most important player on their team. That's not true. They built a team around LeBron James that doesn't work when he doesn't play.
Yeah. It's the same thing with any other sport. Like, if you are surrounding one player, when that player is gone, either by injury, that, by the way, the same injury LeBron James right now is dealing with is the same injury Embiid was dealing with throughout the whole season. And yet Embiid has more games played than LeBron James. Just keep that in mind.
So I'm excited for the first time in a long time that LeBron James isn't and shouldn't be in the MVP conversation. He just shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be. And this year, I think the press and the other major sports channels, they got it right. James should not be in the conversation. If you have James still in your conversation right now,
you don't watch basketball. It's the same people that put Klay Thompson on the All-Star team.
Yeah,
Klay Thompson was on the All-Star team. Buddy hasn't played in 2020 and 2021. So Jokic, I don't. Look, he's playing great. I don't know if he's the MVP. Again, fourth seeded team. You have better players on better teams. I think that, look, Joel Embiid has missed a lot of time. And I could understand if Jokic wins the thing.
Yes.
But for me, I think Curry is your MVP if he gets his team to make the playoffs. If he can get the Warriors into the playoffs, and based strictly off of his shooting.
With I agree with that part. Like, Curry, is the favorable to win it. But at the same time, Jokic, has carried the team as high too. And I like him. I like his play style. He's one of those, like, let's go to the playground. Let's have some fun. And the stuff that he comes out of his mouth sometimes to, like, the refs and other things, it's pretty fun. I personally, if it's not Embiid, let's say I didn't pick Embiid as my MVP, I would say Jokic is my number 2 on that list. Just because
it's not the same. Like, it's not the same. Like, you look at who Jokic had on the roster with him. Yeah, I know Jamal Murray is hurt, but he had Jamal Murray. Right. Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, JaMychal Green, Michael Porter Jr. These are all players that are significantly good players. If you look at the same thing over with Golden State, you're talking about, yes, Draymond Green. We understand is he's Draymond Green. We get it. But you're also talking about Andrew Wiggins, a former very high draft pick. Kelly Oubre Jr., another big draft pick. James Wiseman, another big draft pick.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a team that's a monster squad.
Yes. And Curry's offense is carrying that team. Not saying no, the whole thing. But the fact that Jokic is doing all of that with a solid core of people, that right there shows me the leadership of the whole thing. Monster squad. It's a whole thing. It's one of those things that, like, okay, fine. Like, Curry, yes, Curry is the one like doing the best he can for making Golden State to get into the playoffs. They have a better chance compared to other teams in the NBA. But Jokic, I mean, let's be honest. When's the last time you heard Mavericks team that you'd be like, "Ooh, they actually they're a solid Mavericks team"? And then you have players. They finally got to the point that you got players that you can rely on, especially Jokic. Like, I think it's it's more of a personal thing itself. Call me, the crazy guy. And yes, Curry has a more better resume in terms of like that. But Jokic literally has bring up the team to the point they can like.
I
they
just
can
think that when you're talking about Curry right now, he is carrying the team single-handedly carrying the team. So for me, like in order as of May 10th, if I'm ranking the MVP candidates, I go Curry, Embiid, Jokic.
Okay. See, I have it I have it a little bit backwards, but yes, I'll say you're right with the top three. Those three are top three.
Right.
You know, I say Embiid number one, Jokic and Curry. But you are right. You're correct in those top three. Those would be the only three names that we should be throwing out for MVP. Everybody else is like a not consideration. Like, good job. You know, we saw you.
You're good players,
you know,
but you're not in the MVP.
Curry has
right.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like, if you look at the resumes right now, yes, you're right. Curry has the resume. Like, if you look at it just paperwork wise, yes, Curry literally should be number one just because he's carrying his team. He has basically, you know, one or two players compared to the team that he had like 2-3 years ago. But overall, for a MVP caliber person, you have to have that over the top leadership. Like, yes, you are carrying the team.
And you don't think Curry has the over the top leadership?
No, it's not that. Okay, I said that wrong. My bad. So I
was about to say, because my man is going to need some back surgery when this is all done, because he's carrying that squad. And then there's now conversation that he is not just the greatest shooter in the NBA this season, but the greatest three-point shooter in NBA history.
I know. Fact just came out that he's going to beat Ray Allen's record with 600 games, fewer 600 games.
Yeah.
And so, yes, he is overall. But my thing is that with the team setups and so forth, for be it a true MVP, like if you have that core of players that like are the your best rebounders, your best shooters, your best players, and you're still outshining them, but at the same time keeping them to the point that they're contributing, that's an MVP play. I think that's an MVP player. Same thing with Embiid. Yes, he's carrying the team, but yes, somehow, even when his off days, the team is winning. They're still winning, and they're still trying to do their best to either A, give him the ball, B, give him the best possible chance to either get the rebound, dish it out, or have him get the ball and go in. Like that right there, to make the whole team overall good, that's what I think is perfect.
Right. So, and I agree. Like I said, I think because the team can win without Embiid, I think because the team can win without Embiid right now, that's what takes him. The team can't win without Curry. The team cannot win without Steph Curry. All right. We got a first timer here on Chips and Dish. I was umpiring his game tonight, and he's like, look, I missed the one show, and I never got invited back. I was like, all right. Are you available tonight? He's like, well, let me move some things around. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on the All About the Birds Network, for the first time on Chips and Dish, I introduce you, Mr. Frank Guido. What is going on, Frank? Long time no see.
It's gone, but I know it's been a while. Just a mere couple hours, not even an hour.
Let me tell you, you missed a great game. We all had a great time.
Yeah, I did have to walk away. I apologize for that. That's like a little rec baseball.
Guys, I didn't eject him from the game. He chose to walk away willingly.
I did. For one time, I didn't get angry.
No, well, 8 years, eight and a half years, however long I've been doing it, I've never ejected anybody. So Frank would have to get a special treatment if he was going to be the first one wrong. Okay. So Frank, we over here. This is Manny, by the way.
Hey Manny, what's going on, man?
Hey Frank. Manny. I don't know if you know this, Frank, but Manny is my twin brother from back in college. I like how you looked up. Like, yeah. I know the resemblance is uncanny.
Yes.
By the way, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Speaking of twin brothers, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Belated for all the ladies who watched the show. We could not do this without you. So shout out to you all. Frank, having just joined us, who, as of right now, with 4 games left, is your NBA MVP and why?
Yeah, I was listening to this. Yeah, I disagree. I think Embiid is, without question, the MVP. of the league.
He's coming and shooting shots fired.
Yeah,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
don't know. I mean, listen, I get what you're saying with Curry, but Curry, although maybe an MVP, he's not positioning his team in the way that, in my opinion, Embiid is. I mean, he takes over games, he's owning it. In my opinion, he's matured as an athlete, as a leader on the Sixers team. Yeah, do they win when he's not on the court? Sure, but they also have some more talent on the team than just him. But I think without question, if you look at their ability to get deep into the playoffs, they're not going anywhere without him. I mean, he is the whole centerpiece to the whole team. It kind of runs around him. I mean, you look around his overall skill set, he's not just a center. He's a top performer at every aspect of the game, from shooting outside, free throws. So in my opinion, I don't see how he doesn't get the MVP this year.
But up until you said he's an all-around center, you could take that exact argument that you just said and insert Curry's name. The team is centered around him. They don't win without him. They have to build an offense around him. He is dominant. He is the most dominant player on the court. And he's positioning his team to make the playoff run. Without Curry, the team doesn't make the playoffs. Until you said the piece about being a center, you made a case for Steph Curry without me saying a word.
See, I guess we can go that way, but I look at it as yes. I mean, does Curry make an impact on his team? Sure, but when you're looking at this season, and what Embiid has done across the overall footprint of the year, you look at what he has done to develop his skill sets, develop his leadership skills with his team. Right? To me, if you eliminate him from the Sixers, they go from a 1 seed to maybe an 8 seed or not even the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
Him. So that's the difference. I'm not saying that the Warriors are winning anything without Curry, right? But the reality is where Embiid currently sits, he's the most valuable player, in my opinion, on his team's overall success to win a championship this year.
And I tend to agree with you. So I do think that Joel Embiid's level of dominance this season is absurd. He has become the top center in basketball. So first off, you agree that Jokic is not, in your opinion, in the MVP consideration?
I don't see it.
Yeah. Manny, so you've now heard the argument. Do you want to come up with your final weigh-in? Who, Manny, is your MVP as of right now?
That's right. My Embiid. Embiid is my again, like Frank said, overall he's an impact player that has impacted the team to the point that he's that dominant. I guess. Do they still make the playoffs without Embiid? Yes. Would it be as high as they are right now? No, but they still make the playoffs. Embiid gets to that extra caliber to really push to the point that he is that guy. And again, he makes the overall team together. That chemistry right there. That's a big factor. I don't think people really, realize in the NBA.
Right.
So
the wife is weighing in from right over there.
Yeah,
which is hysterical.
She should weigh in. She agreed with me, so I like the way she thinks. But
listen, we all know that she's the smartest one in the house. We've all done the bracket challenge. We are aware. So
she whooped your butt.
She did. She kicked almost everybody's butt in the All About the Birds realm. So I think it's time for him to get the recognition to owe to him. I feel as though he's always passed over, even though everyone knows how amazing he is. That ties into another show that we've done here, which is we're from Philly. No one likes us, and we actually do care. It hurts our feelings.
Yes.
So, all right, Frank, you have coached basketball against me, with me.
Yes.
What is this? So, Teacher of the Year, Don Conaway, has said, nobody is beating this Sixers team in the East. He had to do claps involved and everything. Do you agree? Is there any, because the Sixers team does have flaws. What are they? And what can they do to fix them going into the playoffs?
So,
wait, Frank, let me give you your first spotlight. Hang on. This is always fun. Let me give you your first spotlight. Go ahead. Fix the Sixers.
Look at that. Fix the Sixers. See, my biggest concern right now with them is their outside shooting, right? So from time to time, sure, they get hot. But if Curry's not on, right, Korkmaz isn't in the game hitting them, it gets difficult. So to me, the only way they get through the East is defensively. And I think that comes down to Simmons having to show up and play defense. And then Thibault, I think, has got to have a more substantial role in the game itself. The team that scares me right now is the Bucks. When you look at them overall, that's a team that I think they should beat them in a 7-game series. But I think earlier on in the year, can't remember when we were playing them, we were up pretty comfortably against them. Now that was a game, if I remember correctly, either Simmons and Embiid were out. But make a long story short is I think that they should have no issue getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, but it all comes down to how that matchup rolls out. I'm more concerned about the Bucks and the Nets at this point.
I am too, because the Nets still haven't put together their entire team. They refuse to play all three of their guys. There's no chemistry between them. And we know that when the playoffs come around, it's the teams that have played together the most. I think that I agree with your assessment that Milwaukee, they are dangerous because they have their centerpiece in Antetokounmpo. And then Middleton is a great secondary option. But the secret, and I said this when it happened, is Drew Holiday. You want to talk about a facilitator of a basketball. Drew Holiday knows it, and that's why they re-upped him for as long as they did.
Yes.
Yeah. I think look at them. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Manny.
Nah, I mean, you're correct in the whole thing. Like, literally, like, the Bucks are, as much as we want to talk about the Sixers being number one seed, keep in mind the Bucks right now, they're the team to beat. They have basically the same pieces from year in and year out. So I would love them to play them later on in the finals compared to round 2 or 3, because that'll be a game that it's gonna be very tough for us. Very tough.
Right. So. And the fact that the Sixers, so I know, Frank, you mentioned that we haven't been healthy each of the time we played them, but the last 3 games that we played against them, we have lost. So all 3 matchups this season, 1 in overtime, the one you mentioned, and then even dating back to last season, which, doesn't matter because 2020 sucks. But we've lost 5 straight against this Bucks team. So there is something that they're going to have to figure out if they come across a series with this team.
I think the advantage that they would have is the simple thought process of home court, right? That's going to be key, I think, in a 7-game series for them to actually beat the Bucks. I'm not comfortable we're going to their court, but obviously it looks like we're positioning ourselves where we'll be the number 1 seed, but there's more to it. I mean, I think the defensive aspect of the game has to be there in order to beat them. I'm not as concerned about, their outside shooting ability, the Sixers, that is, if they can contain their offense. That's right. the piece. We have gone in spurts against them where we play very well defensively for 2 or 3 quarters, and then, you give a gap, next thing you know, that team can catch up rather quickly with the skilled players they have. So that's, to me, that would be a deep series if it gets to that. Now, in a perfect world, somehow they lose and we don't have to face them, but
that'd be fantastic. Let's do that.
We got to get through our opponents first. That's the key.
Right. We definitely need Ben Simmons to figure out playoff basketball. We need Joel Embiid to be healthy through playoff basketball. And we need the couple players off of the bench that we're going to opt to use to be exceptional and not blow leads when they have to give the starters a break.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Anything else on the NBA before we switch gears to the boys of summer?
No, I think we're good on that part. Embiid, MVP, Curry, big nod.
All right. Phillies have just finished 17 straight days of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Talk about
in that very long 17 days, they went 9-8, including multiple times where they went win-loss, 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 which was exhausting to follow. Then they went on a 5-game winning streak starting last week and continuing on before dropping 2 to the Braves over the weekend, and they were not pretty losses. No. So there's some questions about this Phillies team. First off, Frank, as a baseball coach, how do you prepare a team? And I remember our travel season last year when I umped for you what felt like 17 straight days of baseball. How do you prepare a team for that much baseball in such a condensed time?
Listen, it's difficult, and I think when you look at where they're at as a team, I don't know if they're the deepest team off the bench. You have some players filling in with Segura was injured, and we got lucky there. But when you go through it, the bullpen and the amount of runs that they were giving up, they had a short run there where they were doing well, and then they went back to the Phillies of old. But right. It's a very difficult thing to get a team prepared for that many innings of baseball, and you need players to stay healthy, and you need players to step up. But when you look at what's coming off their bench right now, it's just not there, and that's the issue I think that we have. If your starters don't go deep, and I think we can get into a conversation on, in my opinion, if Aaron Nola is really an ace or not at this point in time, because I don't think he's an ace.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, if I had a sound effect, it'd be like, meow, 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 because I did an entire damn show where I argued the validity of the ace label for Aaron Nola, because my definition of an ace is somebody that goes out, is dominant. You're going to get 6 to 9 innings from them every single time out. You give them the ball and you know exactly what you're going to get. Aaron Nola yesterday lasted 4 innings. It is not an ace when his innings per outing is so up and down. Sometimes he's 4, sometimes he's 6, sometimes he's 9, sometimes he loses to the Braves, sometimes he dominates. Aaron Nola is not an ace. Yes.
No, I agree. I don't think he ever will be. I think he's a solid 2 in a rotation. I don't think he has a temperament to be an ace when he's out there on the mound. To me, I don't get the feel like he wants that role. I think right now he's the best pitcher in an okay rotation. And I think you've had some good starts. Eflin and Wheeler. I mean, you look across, you're like, all right, some good starts, but at the end of the day, the bullpen can't shut it down. I mean, that's the biggest issue. I mean, let's forget about the nonsense game where they lost there in the 12th inning after up 3 runs. Your thought would be coming into yesterday's game, that the ace is on the mound. He can right the ship. You can get to you can win the series. You move on, but you don't have that. Yeah. So you're stuck back to a crapshoot of what you're going to get each day.
And that, to me, the consistency is, so you look at who the aces are, and you look at the number 1 pitcher in baseball, Jacob deGrom. I think part of the issue is what constitutes an ace, and does every pitching staff have one? Right. So some people look at an ace and they go, well, it's the number 1 pitcher on a staff. That's not how I do it. I go, there's a select. Here's how I qualify an ace. If you look at, say you have a fantasy baseball draft and you get to make the first 5 picks and you get to pick your starting rotation. So you get to pick starters 1 through 5. Okay. Do you consider Aaron Nola a top 5 pitcher in baseball right now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And you argue that he's not even the best pitcher on this team when you look at Wheeler. Yeah. So that's my piece of it all. Manny, what do you think? Is Aaron Nola an ace?
No, he's not an ace. One thing about aces that people forget is not just how they pitch, but the aggression they pitch. Think about like the Roy Halladay days. Think about even going to other places like Cesar Sabathia and Greg Maddux back in the days, Pedro Martinez, like that aggression on the mound, like to show their dominance, that say to them, I'm here and I'm going to strike you out. And I don't see that with Nola. Like literally, I see, he's a good pitcher. He does his command on the plate is good. But
his breaking ball pitchers are absurd.
Yes,
but they're very good until they're not.
I don't see any tenacity. That's the big problem I have. Like, I'm pretty sure, like Frank, you said Frank was a coach. You're a coach. I'm a coach, and we always look at the intangibles, going back to the, analytics. Like everybody wants to see numbers, but I want to see tenacity. I want to go see him get up there, and pitch and get pissed off when the strike is not called. I want to see him, go out there and do like whatever it takes to win. And that right now, it's not showing me. 4 innings, 4 innings in the game. Like, who does
against
that?
The Braves. Against the Braves, against the division opponent.
Yeah, like that right there. If I was in the lineup and I see him playing the Braves, I'm gonna give it 110%. The same way I'm, if I'm playing the Mets or or the Nationals,
it's the logic.
I'll open and go. Yeah.
It's the logic that that your bullpen has been struggling. Your bullpen has been spotty. Your starting pitching has been spotty. During that 17 straight days of baseball, the team ERA was 4.39. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. And you can blame it on the bullpen, which, yes, they brought in some new pieces, but it's really the same team. You can blame it on the starting pitching, which, like you said, you've got a good starter in Nola, you've got a good starter in Wheeler, you've got a good starter in Eflin, but your 4 and 5 pitchers are a major liability. Right now, we are relying on Vince Velasquez to be a stud number 4 pitcher, and it is not going to happen. He's good for what we're asking him to do for the first 4 innings of a game.
Yeah, so call reliever at that point. And so, I mean, whatever you slice it with the pitching, like our pitching is dead awful. Like, let's be honest. Like, the only way we're gonna win games if we keep our bats going, and that's they did show us as the last that 5-game win streak. Just hit the ball, get contact, and then we'll go from there. Even the game that they lost against I think it was Saturday against the Braves.
Where Hector Neris blew yet another save.
Exactly. And it literally is one of those things that, like, if we can't rely on pitching, we gotta go someplace else.
Right. Like, well, I've been saying since before the season started that Hector Neris should not be the closer of this team.
No.
Hector Neris is not a closer.
He's not, but it's the best they have, unfortunately. And the reality is, if baseball IQ would tell you that the pitch he threw, has to be split finger and not a fastball right over the middle of the plate with 1 strike left to go. It makes no sense. But, when you look at it, you look at today's baseball, I think the problem is you can only win so many games with your bats nowadays. And you can see it in the field. Yeah. Most of the at-bats are walks or strikeouts, it seems like. And to some case, we joke around, Chip. It's like I'm watching my travel team, right? Who's putting the ball in play, who's getting hits, and it's either going to be a home run, a strikeout, or a walk, right? And you can see it in some of the defensive players and how they approach fielding. It's like they're not even ready. They don't expect the ball to even come to them half the time. They're flat-footed because there's so many strikeouts and so many at-bats where it's just not quality at-bats, right? You're not getting the hits. But, the Phillies can go off for 2-3 home runs in a game. Next thing you know, they're up big, but it's never enough, right? How long can you sustain that? And that's why you look at a team that's basically 500. Maybe they will hold on for a little bit to first place. Eventually the Braves will probably get hot. Or who knows if the Mets are for real. And the Phillies will be battling for maybe a wild card spot at some point in time. And they'll be an average team until they actually invest in pitching because they're a poor defensive team and their hitting is only going to sustain so much.
Right. And you look at how this team has been built where somebody like Rhys Hoskins, who is not a good defensive first baseman, is your best option at first base. But when he is also slumping and they bury him down as number 7 in the lineup, that's an issue. That is now turning into a liability at first base. You had Bohm struggling. You had McCutchen struggling. You still don't know who the hell your center fielder is. I mean, Frank, is Odubel Herrera the answer in center field?
No way.
Definitely not.
Wait, let's discuss why he's not the answer in center field.
Well, there's a number of reasons why, but I think you look at it. I mean, listen, when he was playing here regularly, he was an inconsistent player on an average team anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So he looked like a top tier player on the Phillies team at that time, right? But what we all know is he would have maybe been a bench player or maybe platooning in the outfield with somebody once in a while on a different team, but he was not an everyday starter, right? And he was streaky, like we knew. Defensively, he's not the smartest out there, and offensively, he's going to give you what he gives you, and that's going to be 2 or 3 games in a row where he gets hits, and he's going to be, not heard from for a handful of games. So it's not the answer, across the board. And then, you look at McCutchen. McCutchen's a shell of what he used to be. I mean, it's great to have him, but he's not what he used to be out there in left field. So you really, in my opinion, have one viable starter in the outfield in Harper at the current moment in time, and you probably need to find 2 people to replace in the outfield at some point.
Right, because McCutchen, is not the MVP McCutchen from his Pittsburgh days. He's just not. And look, he's a serviceable fielder. But right now there's actual talk because they're trying to solve the problem. There's talk about moving Harper to center field. There's talk about moving Nick Maton out to the outfield. And even though he's never played since, Little League, he hasn't played outfield. You can't just put him in the outfield.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame, that whole thing.
Literally a different ballgame. So literally. Going into Frank's statement, first of all, you're right. This is a pitcher's league now compared to what was, 10 years ago. Pitching wins games, and hopefully
Phillies can get that through their heads that we need pitchers and that whole thing. Center field, Herrera, right now, you look at the stats for the last 7 games, he's batting 286. Okay, that's fine. Overall, he's 175. Like that right there, that is a big slump in the whole thing. And again, streak right there. So he's streaking right now in the whole thing. But when is the plateau going to hit that he's going to go back to his old ways? Overall, at this point, I think that, like you said, like we need 2 outfielders. Yes, McCutchen, good guy, but at this point, he's not producing what he needs to do. I mean, even on the bases, he's not yet. Right now he's the leader in steals, but he only has like 3 or 4 steals all. So it's not like that.
And
much
that's a whole different,
in Pittsburgh.
That's a whole different argument. And Frank and I and Manny, we can talk about base running until we're blue in the face, but base running wins and loses games. It wins and loses games. There was a perfect example, Frank, from our game tonight, where a runner on third base, 50 feet away from home, 70 feet away from 70 feet. I think we're playing 50-70, right? 70 feet away from home, gets caught in a pickle, and that's a run that doesn't ever cross home plate.
Right.
That changes a game.
That's the pickle. Yeah. And that's the thing about the Phillies.
There is no base running aggressiveness on the Philadelphia Phillies. None.
The whole lineup, even go ahead, Frank.
No, okay. I was going to say there isn't, but your number one hitter in McCutchen is your number one hitter because he's probably the most intelligent hitter. But that's what you're getting as your leadoff guy. You're not getting a true leadoff guy who's going to get on base and cause havoc when he gets on the bases.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's no Ricky Henderson. There's no Kenny Lofton. There's no Willie Mays Hayes. There's none of that speed where I'm going to get on first and I'm going to steal the next 3 consecutive bases and you're going to be up 1-0 on the next 3 pitches.
Exactly. And it's sad because again, like you talk about the whole pitchers, league compared to batting and so forth, and players not looking like they're ready and so forth. But literally, you're number 1 in stealing in the team, and you only got 4 at this time. That right there shows me that there's no, no. Again, go back to the aggression. Like there's no aggression. There's no necessity to get in scoring position. There's nothing in there. I mean, for God's sakes, I bash Bryce Harper, but yeah, somehow he has an on base percentage of 900. So he's getting
because they don't pitch to him. They don't pitch to the guy.
Yeah. But still, I mean, for God's sakes, Barry Bonds has the highest on base percentage for that reason alone. I mean, he walked almost 1,000 times in his career. So, like,
he did, yeah.
Just for that fact, like, walks and walks. Okay, fine, you got walked, but where is that tenacity? Okay, you walk me, I won't make you pay by getting to second base or even third base on the next 3 pitches. Like, where is that tenacity for the Phillies? And again, maybe we're just going.
It doesn't exist. What? Drunk on Broad checking in. We're trying to play GM over here, Rich. We're trying to figure out how to fix the Phillies. So I'm going to give each of you an opportunity here. Please, again, we're playing Fix It tonight. In order, because this is the tough part. Please give me your wish list on how to fix the Phillies. Their most pressing need. Give me your top 3 fixes as we approach the trade deadline. Frank, go first.
We need another starter to be at least at the 4 spot for them. I think that you need to find some level of consistency in relief pitching. I don't think you're going to be able to get a closer necessarily, but you need to have some more setup men out there. And I think you need to get bench help. You need people that can come off the bench and pinch hit and get on base. I mean, that's something they don't have right now. I mean, I think back when they had Greg Dobbs, players like that, you don't have players that can come off the bench and you can think are going to get a hit. I mean, that just doesn't exist anymore. So you got to find a way to get deeper there.
So, and that's in order. You think that's the 1, 2, and 3 in order? That's
what I would say, yeah, because you can't, if you don't have a sustainable starting rotation, it's not going to matter. And then you have to get the bullpen help. And then, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, when Knapp's your second best option off the bench, you need to find a way to get some more help off of there. But it doesn't matter if you can't get to a point where you can keep the other teams from scoring runs off of you.
True. Manny, play GM. What you got? Manny, I haven't spotlighted you yet. I'm sorry. Let me get your spotlight up in here.
Okay, fine. I'll take it. I agree with Frank. Pitching first. We need a starter. We need some type of rotation in there that can give us the best chance to win and so forth. Defense, second of all, the center left field, outfield itself in general. Those hits are hurting us, especially when a single turns into a double for no reason.
Manny, I think you're having some Wi-Fi issues again, so I'm gonna unspotlight you. It seems to cause you to blow up a little bit.
I think he's frozen.
He is. He's Elsa up in here. He's frozen.
I think the Phillies heard him talking smack and they just shut him down.
So
no.
You're still a little laggy. So tell you what. Well, I heard you. You're just not moving. So listen, Manny, leave and come back. See if you can come back with your internet. I'll let you back in. Don't worry. I'm gonna bump you for a second. Bloop. So I kind of agree. And Rich, this was my point that I was going to make. I love my people from Drunk on Broad. Why Archie Bradley wasn't the closer from Jump Street, I will never understand. Archie Bradley is a dominant bullpen piece. And yes, he's injured right now, but he's your closer. And one thing that really bugs me, and Frank, I'm taking it back here to like the 90s and the 2000s, and maybe you've got the analytical answer here. Why is it that closers now pitch in non-save situations?
You get the analytic aspects. I think analytics are nice to some extent, and I think coaches have to go more with their gut. I don't get it. I don't understand why they're out there on non-safe situations unless you say, hey, they haven't thrown in, a week or whatever it may be. But that frustrates me. Right. I think a closer should have a mindset to come out, got a 1 or 2 run lead. I got to shut this down. Got to get it done. It's hard to go out there when you don't have that and just pitch either to a tie game, or maybe their team's up. So to me, that's not what the closer role is supposed to be. I mean, they change a lot of things in baseball with analytics and the way they look at it. But back in the day, they pitched if they just hadn't gotten innings before, right? If they weren't able to get
right.
Out
and
there.
I get that. I get that logic. If he hasn't pitched because there hasn't been a save situation in 4 or 5 days, you send him out. But when you're sending out, and again, he's our closer. So when you're sending out Hector Neris to pitch in a non-save situation 2 to 3 times, and then you tell the next day, well, he's not available in this save situation. He's not available today. And it's an actual save situation. That's not analytics. That's bad coaching. Stop sending out closers in non-save situations.
I agree with you. If you look at this team, and I think when people, got the excitement around Girardi coming as the coach, I was excited too. I think the reality is he doesn't have the pieces or the tools that he had with the Yankees to impact and put him out there. He's got what he's got, right? And he's made some questionable moves, I think people have said, but you could have an hour show around that. But I think it just comes down to he doesn't have the pieces or the tools to play with that he had with the Yankees to make him look as successful as he was. I still think he's a great coach, a strong coach. But to your point, I mean, some of the moves in the bullpen, why Segura got pulled out of that game, on Saturday. I mean, I can't come up with a reasoning why it made sense defensively. I mean, what's the reasoning behind it? Like, why would you? I mean, you go back to it has to do with double moves, pitching change, all this other stuff. But still, I mean, you could have found a way to get anybody in that game and not him out of it.
And it's all like, I understand that there is a logic and a mathematical equation that explains all of it. But at some point, baseball is still a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. And when you start thinking past that, you can look at the Phillies with the eyeball test. Scott Kingery is not a good enough Major League Baseball player. For whatever reason, Scott Kingery is not a good enough Major League Baseball player. So stop jotting him out to center field, to second base, to third base as a pinch. He's not doing what he needs to. Send him back down to the minors, see if he can figure it out. Roman Quinn is not a Major League Baseball player. Matt Moore is not a Major League Baseball player. Wow. The eyeball test is there. Stop trotting these guys out for whatever reason, just because, in an analytical situation, 2 out of 3 times they're likely. You run, you hit the ball, you catch the ball, you throw the ball. That's it. That's baseball.
Right. With the right players. I think the problem is, years ago, we go back to the team with, we've got some static back there.
Yeah.
Do we have them?
He muted me. How dare you?
I did. You got some static happening over there, Manny.
Yes,
I had to change the different format. Is the reason why.
I'm gonna bump you out one more time. I'm gonna bump you out one more time while you figure it out.
Yeah, so I think back when you go back to Phillies, 2008, things like that. I think they are dying to get these like homegrown talent, right? To say that Utley and Howard and Rollins, it worked. They just don't have that, right? And they're trying to take players up there like Kingery and Roman Quinn and things like that that they're just
Alec
not going to be.
Bohm worked out great. Mickey Moniak did not.
Right, exactly. So and Bohm, but to me, Bohm worked out. For now, I mean, we still got to see how long he can go, right? Is he a sustainable long-term starter, and is he a third baseman? But you don't know, right? And it's such a tough game, and it comes, all the ebbs and flows of a season for a hitter, right? It's hard to sit there and say they can do it, they can't do it. But I look at some of these players and I think, hey, bring some of these guys up and see how they can do, and I just not bought into the fact that we're winning anything this year. So I can see at some point in time towards the end of the year when we're out of the wild card chase and we're all disappointed, bring some of the youth up and see what you got. Because in my opinion, you have to be very aggressive, either in the trade deadline or in the offseason. Because even if you make the playoffs this year in a wild card situation, I can't see you going very deep. And obviously I say these things, I hope I'm completely wrong. But
absolutely.
But there's I don't see it. I mean, the team just isn't what you expect it to be. They got Harper, and yes, he costs some money, but to believe that we don't have more money to go out and get additional talent to support that. You look at the Braves team, you look at the Mets team. I mean, they're stacked. They got some real players on that team, right? That just aren't performing yet where they can. In my opinion, the Phillies are performing the way I would expect them to. I don't think they're
like Francisco Lindor right now is Francisco Lindor is starting off very slowly, and he's getting a lot of flack for it because he's in New York, and there is an expectation when you're in New York and you're being paid the money you are. Look, this Phillies team, when you really look at it, is not that different from the mediocre Phillies team from last year. And everybody who tried to talk themselves up and say, well, this is a different team, this is different. It's really not. It's really not a different team. There's a couple bigger name free agents they brought in for the bullpen, but the offense is almost identical, except Alec Bohm is now our third baseman, and we still don't know who our center fielder is. And they decided to sign Matt Moore out of Japan. So besides that, this Phillies team is not that different. So to expect a different result doesn't make sense. Now, approaching the trade deadline, months away from now, I think that if you can figure out a way to keep Nick Maton in this lineup, then you can do that, whether that's trading Gene Segura or actually making him into an outfielder.
But yeah, I would throw him to the outfield because you have nothing to lose. And I don't disagree. I saw the one note pop up saying that there was nobody to bring up. You're right. There isn't that much to bring up from our minor league team, but there's not much on the field right now, right? So my point is, if you look at what you have in the minors and you can say, I don't have much down there, that tells you got to go out and build this team through free agency because you're not going to do it through your farm system. And that's the problem they currently have. You have to identify that. The reality is I think they believe last year they had enough on this team to be successful and believe that the bullpen was the only issue, when clearly the bullpen was the issue. Defensively, there was an issue. You still don't have a leadoff guy on the team for real. There's a lot of gaps here that lend to in my opinion, a 500 ball club at the end of the year.
Right. And, Rich's comment, that's why they brought in Dombrowski, exactly what they said. Because again, this is a team that is exactly where they were last season. Frank, we talk about a lot here that I just got back into the Flyers because I started running a sports podcast. So the Flyers won their last game 4-2. They always win on Monday nights, Adam. We know this. As soon as I go live, the Flyers start kicking ass. It has happened for weeks now. If they only played on Mondays, or if I only did shows when the Flyers played games, they'd be undefeated.
Well, hopefully they wake up next year and play the way they can. That was a disappointing year.
That was it. Yeah. Well, we're not even going to get. Listen, I said until the Flyers make some moves, we can't talk about them anymore because they hurt all of our feelings.
Agreed.
The only thing that the Flyers have won recently, in my mind, is we won Teacher of the Year through my school, Don Conaway, NHL Teacher of the Year, has won $30,000 for the Norristown Area School District. And he
Nice.
beat somebody from Pittsburgh and he beat somebody from Edmonton. And Don Conaway rocks. And he's the co-host of Drunk on Broad. So there you go, Rich. I gave him another shout out for you. And speaking of the youth, Philadelphia Eagles? Question mark?
Ooh.
First off, they old. They old as hell. But here's my question that I want to bring up. You saw what they did in the draft. They got another running back. You saw who they just signed in Kerryon Johnson. You saw they signed Jordan Howard. Oh, dear God. Are we getting a glimpse into their offense? There's a lot of running backs on this roster. Is this going to be a run-heavy football team? Something that we have not seen in Philadelphia in 25 years.
It's going to be interesting just because of the fact that the coach itself is not known for running that much. So I guess either he has a strategy or he has something up his sleeve that he thinks he can help the team overall get to what they want to be. And the question is, what does he want this season to be? Does he want to have like a 500 season, or you just want to go all the way to to the playoffs, maybe beyond the playoffs? But I mean, my hope is just to get to that first season 500 and then work our way up. Is that a little bit low expectation? Yes.
No.
But at the same time, I hope that. So, I say low expectation because we,
Listen,
as Philly fans,
I do not, Manny. I do
big.
not, and I've said this on multiple shows now. Anybody that thinks that the Philadelphia Eagles in 2021 is a playoff football team or will be a playoff football team is sniffing glue.
And we do sniff glue. That's the problem. Like we are going to sniff glue in that process. Like
some Smarty Jones glue up in here.
Yes, and the reason why I say low expectations is because at the end of the day, like, do we want to get to the playoffs? Yes, every team, every fan,
and we can sneak in by winning the NFC East. Yes,
exactly. But my thing is, at the end of the day, is it's going to be an interesting fit of why he has this heavy run roster in place. I mean, you're talking about basically the way it's set up. I'm watching like old school, Lombardi, wing T, run and gun. Like, get down the throat, just go in there and pound it out, and then eventually you'll get a pass or two in itself. Knowing this coach, his days at the Colts in San Diego, he's not that type of coach, to be, heavy on the run. So he has a plan. The question is, what plan is it? And are we going to be on board by week 3, or are we going to be booing him by week 4?
Not at all.
So that's the question that literally is going to happen.
I think the reality is it doesn't matter what their offense does. Their defense is so poor that it's irrelevant. I mean, they can put up 100 points a game. They're still going to lose. I think half the defensive line is as old as I am. But at the end of the day, when you look at this, I mean, listen, you didn't get power backs, on your team. All right, you got a young receiver that can catch out of the backfield. Great, but my biggest issue is you still got Miles Sanders, who, in some people's opinion, had an average year last year. He still put up 827 yards or something like that, close to that in rushing. But that still wasn't a great year. Imagine what you could do if you utilized him properly.
Right, and that was in a situation where he never got 20 carries per game.
Correct. So to me, until you give him the opportunity to be your lead back, I don't care who you bring on this roster. I think Howie just goes, oh, he sounds good, I'll pick him up, right? I don't really think it means anything. I mean, when you break it down right now, you have a team that going into the season, I hope that they're fun to watch. I like to see Hurts have the opportunity to become the starter. If he does, great. They want to run the ball more, fine. You want to throw the ball, go for it. But at the end of the day, is you're not gonna sneak in and win the NFC East because you're not as good as the other teams. No. Even though the Cowboys aren't that great, the Giants aren't that great.
The Cowboys' offense is great, though.
Right. They are.
Their line is great.
Although let's not forget what they did with 2 pretty solid linebackers in the draft this year. As we sat back and thought, defense is an option that we'll get to later on. We pick up another lineman. Okay, I don't know if Howie thinks you only win the NFL with linemen, but you can't. You have to have a solid linebacking core. You have an undersized middle linebacker right now on your team. So to me, this is going to be a year where they're going to give up a lot of points defensively, and I want to see what they can do offensively with Hurts. But running back wise, I mean, to me, Miles Sanders is the answer. I don't care who else you bring into this. He's got to be the guy.
So I just counted. Currently, the Philadelphia Eagles have 8 running backs on the roster. 8. Kenneth Gainwell, who they drafted, who I actually really like. I think that he's going to be a nice additional piece. Because coming out of Memphis, he's the best running back out of a very good Memphis running back program. I like him. Elijah Holyfield, we've been trying this. It's not going to work. Jordan Howard, don't even get me started. Jason Huntley, we don't know anything. Kerryon Johnson, he was a good additional piece. Adrian Killens, again, we don't know anything. Miles Sanders, we honestly don't know anything.
No.
And Boston Scott. Why is Boston Scott still a thing? Because we are living in Brian Westbrook's shadows. That's why. We're looking for another Darren Sproles, Brian Westbrook, little back, one-cut speed guy. And Boston Scott, he is the giant killer, and that's about it. So we can sign him twice a season, in my opinion, the week before we play the Giants. And besides that, I think your running backs going into this season need to be Sanders, Johnson, and Gainwell.
I mean, I would think that's where you're going to get at. I mean, they may keep another one on the roster. But
it'll be Scott. It'll be Boston Scott.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think those are the 3 you have. I mean, Gainwell to me is a third down back right now. Catch the ball out of the backfield. Sanders is going to be your main guy, but I don't know. To me, I'm more intrigued on what Hurts can do on running an offense this year, and I hope they don't turn this into him handing the ball off 30 times a game. And
it's going to be the option offense again.
Right.
Well, wait, hold on. The Philadelphia sports media and the national sports media doesn't seem to think that Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback because we're still having Deshaun Watson conversations. We're going to trade our 3 first-round picks next year for Deshaun Watson, or we're going to trade our 3 first-round picks next year and Jalen Hurts for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I don't want a 37-year-old quarterback. For that,
with 2 seasons left, right?
Which doesn't you trade him and you still have no pieces. This goes back to the defense. You have no defense to back it, right? I can get on the Watson train a little bit because he's younger, but
but he's not going to play next season.
No. But my point is, I wouldn't do it. Rodgers makes no sense. Watson makes no sense. You give Hurts a shot. If he does nothing, you draft a quarterback next year.
I agree. I think it's going to be sad because God forbid. Somehow Flacco's gonna be called in that whole damn thing. So and you're right. The whole Watson thing, he's not gonna play next season. And why you want Aaron Rodgers? He's up there. Like, okay, he got a good season last year. Whoop-de-doo. But somehow, like you said, defense needs to be defense needs to be major retooled. You can score 100 points, nothing's gonna happen. We're still gonna lose. My big another thing is these big rosters of like all these running backs. You're right. By week 1, it's gonna be down to 3, and those people you mentioned earlier, Chip, are the ones that I think are as well. They're gonna be on the roster. Scott's gonna be there somehow. Let's be honest. There's no way we can get rid of him.
And it should not be as the kick returner. It should not be as the punt returner. You need a credible threat back there.
Yeah. No. And again, like for him, like to be on the team, it has to show like he did something very, very exceptional during the offseason to be like, to be like, okay, you could be on the roster. If not, I'm okay if he goes to the practice squad. Let's be honest, with this new format that we have again in the NFL, that practice players can go to the games anytime. You can have those running backs itself. Again, like Frank said, Cowboys did a great job in terms of their defensive line. Other teams, they focus on if you look at it, their draft this year, it was a very heavy defensive focus. And somehow the Eagles was like, oh, let's get this running back, or oh, let's go for this receiver, or oh, let's go for this other guy. So like it's one of those things that like hopefully, again, I'm hoping that within now, May 10th, to August 8th from preseason, they get something in place so that way we can start seeing the tools in place. Something. Yes. Something in
place. The defense
place
is the question. I mean, and when we start talk about we talk about expectations, right? Rich, he chimed in. He said he expects 3 wins. I think it'll be a little more than that because it is still the NFC East, and you can guarantee probably at least 2 coming from there, plus whoever else you sneak and beat. But this is not a playoff team.
6-10. No, and 6-10 will be and 8 in the NFC East, and 8-8 can guarantee you a playoff spot, and that's the crazy part of the whole story.
7-9 makes you in the damn playoffs.
Somehow the Cowboys go out crazy and yes. So it's one of those things like, a man can dream, but at this point, we need the defense. We need something.
There's too much. There's too much that we don't know. We don't know what a rookie head coach is going to do. We don't know what kind of quarterback is Jalen Hurts going to be. We don't know if these wide receivers are going to be impactful and if Sirianni can get anything out of them. We do know that the defense did not get taken care of, and this team is really weak on that front. We don't know who our punter is going to be. We don't know, as Rich just said, can the O-line stay healthy? We don't know a lot. And because of the don't know, you cannot sit here and say that this is going to be a playoff team. If you look at the teams that made the playoffs, if you look at the playoff caliber teams, first off, Tampa Bay is the front runner to win the Super Bowl again. You are returning 22 out of 22 starters. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in the NFL. And Tom Brady has a deal with the devil where he never gets old. So let's just get that off the plate now. You're not beating Tom Brady in the playoffs. It's not going to happen. But you're not beating an offensive powerhouse team that is the Dallas Cowboys. You're not beating Fitzmagic because of the defense that Fitzmagic has on the other side. You might split with the Giants because the Giants, I'm not a fan of them. I don't think that Daniel Jones is a good NFL quarterback yet, but you do still have Saquon Barkley coming back. So again, teams playing to their strengths. We don't know what the Eagles' strengths are, so we can't say they're going to play to their strengths. We don't know what they are. And yes, Rich, we know it'd be 8-9 because there's 17 games.
17 games. I forgot about that.
There are no more 500 teams.
It could be
8-1. There you go. We're going to tie again because we forget the damn rules.
I know. We always tie.
Perfect world. It's not 8-1. Listen, I think as a Philadelphia sports fan or an Eagles fan, you want to cheer every game for them to win. But I think the best situation for them is, if they lose, you go, okay, we cheered from the win and they lost. Okay. And the better we get draft pick wise, I mean, the only way to get this team to get better is you got to drop some of the high salaries, reduce your cap, and then go out and get some talent in free agency and really utilize these 3 draft picks next year to change, in my opinion, whether it's a quarterback because Hurts ends up being, unsuccessful. I mean, the perfect world is he is successful, and you look at that draft and say, I can get 3 starting defensive players in the first round. That's the hope I think you want to get at.
Right, and there's so much you got to give you got to give Jalen Hurts the chance to see whether or not you drafted him in the 2nd round. You then traded away Carson Wentz. You got to see whether or not Hurts is the guy, because if he is, you don't have to use one of your 3 first-round picks on a quarterback next year. If he's not, you can.
Right.
Speaking of Hurts, right now he's still on the team. He was not traded for a first-round pick. He was not traded during draft weekend like everybody said he was going to be. Johnny Uleka, our numbers guy, said that it will save us $8 million if we cut him post June 1st. Are we cutting Zach Ertz on June 2nd?
Yes, I think he'll be cut. I don't think he'll be an Eagle.
Yeah, I agree with the same thing. He has right now with this whole I want to be traded and so forth. It's one extra thing that the Eagles cannot afford in terms of salary. One, that's $8 million. You can pick up somebody. Will it be the best player? No, but it'll be somebody decent that can produce for the team and as well as that headache. Let's be honest. Like, would you want to have a player who's going to bring the morale down already as it is in the locker room? I mean, don't be surprised if he's still on the team and you hear like an ESPN flash briefing that you got into a fight on the locker room. Because let's be honest, at this day and age, if you don't want to
would release such information? Would it be Howie dropping more nuggets of information into the media?
Probably, like always. But I'm saying, like, I don't think he's gonna be an Eagle. The way this is going to work out, it's most likely he's gonna be cut and then picked up by another team for maybe something either that amount or even less. Because this day and age, we're working on like the numbers game myself. And me personally as a coach, if I was a coach in the Eagles organization or even a GM or president, and I see a player that's not want to be there, why keep him there? Why go through that headache? Okay, like maybe you can talk to him and see if it's more of a personal thing. But if he says I don't want to be part of the team, why keep him there?
Well, I think it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So Zach Ertz, we know going into last season, demanded.
Yeah.
And everybody in Philadelphia is like, yes, he's the number one receiver. Yes, do it. And then he laid the absolute turd of a season that he put out last season. His his trade value plummeted. And you saw that when he was like, well, we're demanding a first. You ain't getting a first. We're demanding a second. You ain't getting a second. We're demanding 2/3. You ain't getting a third. We're demanding a bag of peanuts. No. Like his trade value was non-existent. So why would Zach Ertz not go, listen, okay, I will stay. I will raise my own trade stock, but let me let me put myself in the best position. Because looking at the tight ends on the roster, Hakeem Butler, Jason Kroom, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Tyree Jackson, Caleb Wilson. Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz are your tight ends.
Yes.
In a system that is designed to have a 2 tight end system.
And it's going to be that 2 tight end system. But at the same time, like that whole thing, like if he's going to be this much of a crybaby about it, like, oh, I want to get traded, it's going to be like a Judo Element situation up in New England last season, that he's going to go mediocre and he's going to get his trade value plummet even more.
But that hurts him. Okay, you want to be mediocre? Then we'll pull your ass off. But you're telling me that any of the other guys I named is a better option than Zach Ertz right now?
No, you're right.
He's not a better option, but that goes back to the question is, what are we trying to win, right? If you free him up, you get the money, and you use that money for something worthwhile. Now you're bettering your team, whether it be a defensive free agent or whatever it happens to be in the mix. Yeah. If you're keeping Ertz, if you're saying I need him to be successful to be a top team competing in NFC East, you're not going to be a top team in NFC East with or without him. So to hold him makes no sense. He has no draft value. You drop him, you free up the money, another team picks him up, and you move on.
That's a great point. You have officially convinced me with that part right there. Because again, I'm over here going, and I've said for weeks, this is a rebuilding team. Play the young guys, play the young guys, play the young guys. Zach Ertz at 30 years old ain't a young guy. We need to see, like Adam said, is Goddard a number one? We got to see if Tyree Jackson can convert back from a quarterback, and if Jason Kroom can keep his touchdown completion percentage at 100. We got to see some of these things. You know what you got in Zach Ertz. He's not elite. He is a tier 2 tight end on a team that if they win, cool, but they probably won't. That's a good point. Frank, you convinced me. It doesn't happen often because I'm pretty stuck in my ways. But that's a great point.
Crazy things happen.
Look at that. You convinced an umpire. Tell all your friends.
I should be part of your motto. I convinced the umpire. But at the end of the day, like, so but we don't need him. We don't need him. Like,
it's with Ertz, it's not a need situation where it's much more of but it's Zach Ertz. Like, how do you cut?
Yeah, but you have a lot of that. You have a lot of people on the team that need to go, and we're slowly getting past the Super Bowl year. We all love the Super Bowl year. It was great, but if
It
you
was
look
a
back,
fluke.
but if you look at this team, it was a situation where everything aligned, and for some reason they won the Super Bowl. Prior to that, they were an average team. After they were an average team. Did they get to the playoffs following the Super Bowl? Yes, barely, with average records. And then what did we do, right? So, if it wasn't for, an inability to kick a field goal in Cody Parkey, we don't get past that game. And then we go to Seattle and we lose to Seattle at home, right? Like, you look at it, there's nothing really exciting to say this team was dominant for a long period of time. Everything aligned, they won the Super Bowl. Great. But you can't sit there and look at the players and say they're going to get me there year after year when the overall record with that core is nothing more than an average 500 football team to some extent.
That's true. All right, listen, I saw this comment. We got to talk about it. I will give each of you no more than a minute on the return of tight end Tim Tebow to the NFL. Thoughts, questions, concerns, comments. Tim Tebow is a Jacksonville Jaguar tight end.
I love it. I don't know. I like Tebow. I don't know what it is about him. I'd love to see him. He's an athlete. He's a competitor. I give him an opportunity, right? I don't know. Like, was he going to be a star quarterback in the NFL? Clearly not. Did he get all the opportunities in Denver? Maybe, maybe not. Like, you don't know with how that whole thing played out. But what the heck do you have to lose? Like, if you want to go out there and have him give it a shot, he's a good guy, and who knows? Will he play and be an active contributor to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Who the heck knows? But I like it. Give him a shot.
Manny, Tim Tebow.
The most electrifying man in sports. I'm messing with it. I don't know. I like it. I mean, the fact that he went there and it was like, you know what? Let me go tight end. And then he got the job. Like, he's a tight end. Tim Tebow, the quarterback. Tim Tebow, the baseball player. Let's be honest, because I actually saw him play in the Mets minor league system, and the dude is ripped. Like, I saw him in outfield, and I was like, holy crap, like, this guy's big. And now Tim Tebow, the tight end, first of all, like, he's back with his old coach, so, like, that right there is telling me that he's going to either have more fun than anybody else in the team, and who knows what everybody has up his sleeve. Like, he's going to have major, major plays for Tebow in that team. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a weird/fun team to watch this season.
But are we going to see a repeat of what Chip Kelly did in Philadelphia, where Urban Meyer turns them into the Jacksonville Gators? Where he only brings in guys that he knows and has had success with.
I'm going to say maybe. Just because the way the college football head coach mentality has been played for the past 10 years, going back to Nick Saban and all of them, there's always that mentality of like, can he produce in the NFL? And usually when guys come from college to the NFL, the first mentality is, oh, this guy's available. I coached him back in college. Let him
and I get that.
So the question, and the question it will be at the end of the day is everybody gonna be that guy? I think not. Just because Urban Meyer, every time he's gone somewhere, he's gone to the point that's like, what the hell are you doing? And yet somehow it still works. You know, he did it with, again, college football system. He did it with, the Gators. He did it with Ohio State.
But how long is he going to stick around? Part of his issue is he goes to a place, does things his way, and then has a health concern and scoots out. He did it. He did it with the Gators. He did it with the Buckeyes. He's going to do it in Jacksonville. Yeah. And is he going to leave behind the wake of a quarterback controversy with Trevor Lawrence, Gardner Minshew, and Tim Tebow?
I don't think Tim Tebow is a quarterback concern. But listen, I think Myers is like a 2-year coach. I don't know. Like, I don't see him. I mean, it's gonna take so long to turn that team around. If he does his thing. So I don't know. At least if you live in Jacksonville, you have something fun to watch for a couple of years, maybe. I
think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be almost as fun. I keep saying my new excitement, and it's okay because it's West Coast. I am stupidly excited for the Seattle Kraken to start playing next season,
Yes.
hockey season. Like, I'm a huge Flyers fan, but I'm so excited for the Seattle Kraken. Beard and Knowledge chiming in from Florida right now. Phil, have you seen Tim Tebow running around shirtless on the beach yet? Because I'm sure that's what he's doing right now. Running around like this, practicing for his new tight endness.
I mean, I haven't.
Driving the ladies crazy.
Quarterbackness. Yeah. But going back to the Urban Meyer thing before we jump on that whole thing, I think personally it's going to be 4 years before he leaves Jacksonville. The first year is going to be the buildings year, but second and third year are going to be the solid years that the Jacksonville's be a playoff team. Will it be high in the seeds? I'm thinking that either 3 or 4 at most, as the highest. But he's going to be those 4 years, and then I'm pretty sure he's going to be, either kicked out or he's going to leave. I'm sure he's going to be.
I hope you're right, because I like to see Jacksonville do well. Not that I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, but I don't see how the heck they make the playoffs anytime soon.
All right. So let me ask this hypothetical. Not really hypothetical, but who do you think makes the playoffs first? Nick Sirianni with the Eagles or Urban Meyer with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
The Eagles.
Gators.
I think Sirianni. Yeah, okay. I think the Eagles go first. I don't think Jacksonville's going to get the talent there. I don't think it's a very attractive place for free agents to go, in my opinion, to some extent. I think that Eagles will be able to get more talent in the free agent market if they do the things right. And you also got 3 draft picks. I mean, unless Howie messes them up next year, you are positioned to do well. I don't think either team makes the playoffs for 3 years.
There's no chance of Howie making any mistakes. Yeah. He's the greatest GM of all time.
Sounds great. I agree. The Eagles, I think, will be there first over the Jacksonville Gators, just because it's a more lucrative position for players to go to. I mean, Jacksonville, yes, they have Meyer, Tebow's there, Trevor Lawrence, and those are appealing. But if we look at the whole background itself, the Eagles right there again, like Frank said, draft picks are there. I'm pretty sure they can make some moves to get to that point that you get a little bit better. I'm calling it in 2 years. No, let me not do that. Because if I do, then I'll eat my words next week. So
it's all good.
But yeah, no,
I think the only reason why it's the Eagles more than anything else is the fact that the Eagles do play in the NFC East, and it is a crapshoot every year where some team can win 6 games and make the playoffs. You don't have that in any other division in football right now. I think that's the reason why the Eagles are the chance to get there first.
And Jacksonville plays a really tough division, like the AFC South. You still got the Colts. You talk about the Texans and the Titans. Let's be honest, the Titans itself.
The Titans are going to be just dominant.
Yeah, well, it's a tough division. It's a tough conference. So that's the advantage the Eagles have.
Eagles have, yeah. Who the hell's going to stop Derrick Henry? Because I'm not. I'll tell you that. So
an Uber driver, because you have to hit him with a car to stop him.
And he still will gain 200 yards.
I mean, he'll dent the car and keep running. I know.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
Gentlemen, anything else for the good of the order before I pay some bills and wrap this all up? Anything else you want to discuss, chat about, thoughts, burning questions in your mind about Philadelphia or national sports?
No, I'm just looking forward to the Sixers run, buddy. That's all I'm focused on right now. Keep our fingers crossed. We can watch some late season basketball this year.
Yeah, cool. I'd be a fan of that.
I'm hoping for late season basketball as well. I cannot stop watching Sixers. So let's go 6. Let's get it over.
Faux show. So this has been. I'm going to spotlight myself. This has been Chips and Dish on the All About the Birds Network. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank the fantastic comments that came rolling through all night. Big shout out to Frank for hopping on after I almost ejected him from our game. I didn't. He was good. He behaved. Big shout out to my man, Manny, my twin, from back in the college days. I did not get the opportunity to post my throwback photo. I'll send it to you, Manny. I got another good one for you. So real quick, some sponsors. Again,
man.
CBD products, hempbombs.com, AAT Birds, 20% off. Statement Games, fun free twist on fantasy sports, oddsjam.com. Of course, the AATbirds.com/shop. Chips and Dishes sponsored by 99jersey.com. AAT Birds, use the code AAT Birds for 20% discount at checkout. Again, this is my Kobe Bryant Lower Merion jersey. Again, Father's Day is just around the corner. Use this code. Help out the men in your life. Ladies, they like the gifts with the fun stuff. And of course, ladies, help yourself out. Manscaped.com is partnered with AAT Birds. Use the code AAT Birds for 20% off and free shipping at checkout. Your balls will thank you. Once again, congratulations to Don Conaway, Teacher of the Year. Yes, I had to record that. You'll see that in a second. Don Conaway, NHL Teacher of the Year, $20,000 for the Norristown Area School District, plus the $10,000 he already earned, and he got to meet Gritty. I did not. I am sad. However, tomorrow is Fairway to Heaven. Phil's going to chime in from Florida. Wednesday night is the All About the Birds weekly report. Eagles, we're talking Eagles. And I believe Wednesday they released the NFL schedule. So we're going to talk wins and losses or losses upon losses. Beers, Birds, and BS is Friday. The draft show is now a YouTube exclusive. All About the Birds is blowing up, y'all. Click that like button, subscribe, enjoy wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as we say every show on the All About the Birds Network, we end with Go Birds. And as we end every show here on the Chips and Dish, I'm out of beer, so I'm out of here. Peace.
Get out of here.
See you guys.
Support for All About the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners. 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. Manscaped hooked us up with a bunch of tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, including the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes with an LED light for a more precise shave and is waterproof to make your shower shave clean and easy. The Perfect Package also includes a deodorant for your undercarriage to prevent odors and chafing, a reviving lotion, a pair of boxers, and a t-shirt, not to mention a travel bag to store all your grooming goodies. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code AATBirds. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.